The wind howled across the frozen plains of Krithos, carrying sharp ice particles that cut like knives. Sirali wrapped her arms around herself, shivering, though the small fire at the center of her shelter gave off a weak, flickering warmth. The shelter was little more than a shell of metal scavenged from crashed ships, but it kept the worst of the cold at bay. Her 3 daughters huddled together, their small bodies trembling, their wide eyes reflecting the faint glow of the fire. Food had been scarce for months. Krathos was unforgiving, its soil frozen solid, its rivers encased in thick layers of ice. Only the hardiest creatures could survive here, and even then, survival was a daily struggle. Sirali's heart ached as she watched her daughters' gaunt faces. She remembered the promise she had made to herself long ago. Her children would never starve while she still lived. Her eldest, Lyra, reached out and touched her mother's arm. "Mother, are we going to be okay?" she asked, her voice soft but tinged with fear. Sirali knelt and held her daughter close. "We will," Sirali whispered, though her own fear twisted inside her. She had to be strong. She had to be brave. And sometimes being brave meant making sacrifices no one could understand. For years, Sirali had searched for ways to provide for her family. She scavenged the icy wastelands, braving dangerous predators and treacherous terrain. She bartered what little she had for small amounts of food and water. But now she had reached the edge of desperation. Her daughter's health was failing, and no amount of scavenging could feed them all. She knew she had to make a decision that would cost her more than she ever imagined. The sound of approaching engines broke the silence of the frozen landscape. Sirali froze, her ears straining to catch every vibration. A freighter ship, sleek and metallic, descended through the icy clouds. It was not uncommon for traders to visit Krythos, but the arrival of this ship was different. This one had a reputation that made Sirali's heart sink and yet, strangely, gave her a glimmer of hope. The human stepped out of the freighter, tall and imposing, with a calmness that contrasted with the harsh environment. Captain Ethan Varn was known across the galaxy for buying rare and exotic items, often without questioning their origin. Yet there was something about the human that made him different from the rest. He walked with purpose, his eyes scanning the landscape, and finally resting on Sirali and her daughters. Sirali straightened, her fear hidden behind a mask of composure. She had prepared herself for this moment. She had heard stories of humans buying vital organs from aliens, of lives being traded as if they were commodities. Her mind raced. Could she really do what was necessary to save her children? Ethan approached slowly, his expression unreadable. "I hear you have something unique," he said, his voice steady, almost gentle. "Something very valuable." Sirali took a deep breath, her heart pounding. She did. She had something unique, something sacred. The heart crystal embedded in her chest, the source of her life and vitality. Without it, she would weaken and age rapidly. But with it, she could ensure the survival of her daughters. The choice was clear, though it broke her soul to even think about it. I have what you want," she said softly, her voice trembling despite her effort to remain calm. "But it will cost me everything." Ethan studied her carefully, noticing the tension in her body, the quiet desperation in her eyes. He was not a cruel man, though many assumed he was. He understood the gravity of what she was offering. "I know," he replied simply. "I will not harm you beyond what is necessary. I only wish to preserve what I seek." Sirali nodded. She could not explain to him the depth of the bond she had with her heart crystal. It was not just an organ. It was the essence of her being, tied to her daughter's survival in ways humans might never understand. But words were not needed. Ethan understood. The transaction was simple, clinical almost, but heavy with emotion. Sirali felt a sharp pain as the heart crystal was removed, a light leaving her body like a sun setting over the horizon. She fell to her knees, weak and trembling. But her daughters were already receiving the resources the heart crystal had bought. Food, warmth, and medicine flowed into their shelter, their small faces lighting up with relief and joy. Lyra hugged her mother tightly. "Mother, you're still here," she said, tears in her eyes. Sirali forced a smile, her own tears mixing with the snow on her face. "Yes, my child, I am still here, and I will stay as long as I can." Ethan watched silently, moved by the alien mother's courage. He had seen countless beings sell parts of themselves for wealth, for power, or for survival. But rarely had he witnessed such selfless love, such pure devotion. He realized that the galaxy had much to learn from humanity, and perhaps humanity had much to teach the galaxy in return. Over the next few days, Sirali recovered slowly, though she remained weak. She continued to care for her daughters, guiding them, teaching them how to survive in the harsh environment of Krythos. Each day was a struggle, each meal a victory. She could feel the absence of her heart crystal in her chest, a dull ache that reminded her constantly of her sacrifice, yet she never regretted it. Her daughters' laughter, their small victories, their survival, that was worth every pain, every moment of weakness. Ethan remained nearby, not as a buyer now, but as a silent observer. He helped where he could, repairing their shelter, bringing supplies, and offering advice on survival in the frozen wasteland. Over time, a bond formed between him and Sirali, one built on mutual respect and understanding. He admired her strength, her courage, and her unwavering love for her children. She admired his compassion, his intelligence, and his refusal to treat life as a commodity. One night, as the auroras danced across the icy sky, Sirali and Ethan sat together outside the shelter, watching her daughters play in the snow. Sirali's body was weak, her breath shallow, but her spirit remained unbroken. "You've done so much for us," she said softly, her eyes reflecting the shimmering lights above. "Why do you care so much?" Ethan smiled, a rare warmth in his expression. "Because I can," he replied simply. "Because some things are more important than profit or trade. Because your courage, your love, it reminds me of what humanity can be at its best." Sirali nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. She had faced the unimaginable and survived, not alone but with the quiet support of a human who saw more than just a transaction. For the first time in months, she felt a spark of hope, not just for her daughters, but for herself. As the night deepened, Sirali thought about the days ahead. She knew she could not remain weak forever. She would need her strength restored, her heart crystal returned if she was to continue living fully and protecting her daughters. Yet she also understood that hope was a powerful thing, capable of inspiring even the darkest corners of the galaxy. And in that hope, she found the courage to face whatever came next. The story of the alien mother, her daughters, and the human buyer had only just begun. But even in the frozen wastelands of Krythos, in a galaxy full of danger and greed, there was room for compassion, bravery, and the unbreakable bonds of love. And in that room, amidst the cold and the snow, Sirali knew one truth above all. Sometimes survival required sacrifice, but sacrifice could also reveal the true strength of a heart. Days passed on Krythos, each one harsher than the last. Sirali grew weaker without her heart crystal, though her spirit remained unbroken. Her daughters thrived, their small bodies gaining strength and energy from the food and medicine the heart crystal had bought. Every smile, every laugh they shared, reminded Sirali why she had made the impossible choice. Yet inside, she felt the emptiness of the crystal's absence, the dull ache where life's energy should have flowed. Captain Ethan Varn did not leave. He had promised himself that he would return what belonged to Sirali, and he intended to keep that promise. Each night he studied ancient maps and data on his freighter, searching for clues about the mysterious technology capable of restoring the heart crystal. His search took him to the edge of known space, to abandoned stations and forbidden asteroid fields, places where few dared to venture. After weeks of preparation, he found it, a small, derelict research outpost hidden within a cluster of asteroids in the Gravelon belt. Legends spoke of it as a place where alien scientists once experimented with life energy and organ restoration, using advanced energy fields to reconstruct or duplicate vital organs. The technology was dangerous, unpredictable, and untested for living beings. But Ethan had no choice. Sirali's life depended on it. He piloted his ship through the dense asteroid field, narrowly avoiding collisions with jagged rocks and tumbling debris. His hands were steady, his mind focused as he maneuvered through the field with precision. Finally, he reached the outpost, a massive structure built into a hollowed asteroid, long abandoned and scarred by time. Its outer surface glowed faintly with residual energy, hinting at the power still dormant within. Inside the outpost was a maze of hallways, chambers filled with dust and the remnants of experiments long forgotten. Ethan moved carefully, his boots echoing across the metal floors. The control room was still intact, its holographic panels flickering weakly. He activated the systems, his knowledge of human and alien technology allowing him to restore power to the energy field generators. Hours passed as he recalibrated the machines, entering precise sequences to activate the restoration protocols. He knew the risk. If the process failed, the heart crystal could be destroyed forever, or worse, Sirali could be harmed. But he could not turn back. Her sacrifice had shown him the meaning of true courage, and he would not let her die when a chance, however small, existed to save her. Meanwhile, on Krythos, Sirali continued to care for her daughters. Lyra, the eldest, had taken on the role of a young protector, guiding her younger sisters through the frozen terrain and keeping their shelter in order. Even as Sirali's strength waned, she felt a quiet pride in her children's resilience. They were learning to survive in the harshest conditions, and she knew that one day they would carry forward the lessons of courage and love she had taught them. The night before Ethan's return, Sirali sat outside the shelter, watching the auroras paint the sky in brilliant colors. She felt a chill run through her weakened body, but she smiled at her daughters playing in the snow. She whispered a promise into the icy wind. "I will protect you, always." Her voice carried both determination and hope, a quiet declaration that even the hardest choices were made for love. When Ethan finally returned, the freighter's engines cut through the silence of Krythos with a soft hum. He approached Sirali's shelter carrying a small glowing container. Inside was the restored heart crystal, its light pulsing gently, vibrant with life. Sirali could hardly believe her eyes. She rose unsteadily, her body trembling as Ethan knelt before her. "I've brought it back," he said simply, his eyes meeting hers with calm assurance. "It's yours." Sirali's hands shook as she reached out, touching the crystal with reverence. The warmth that flowed into her chest was immediate and overwhelming, like the sun rising after a long, dark night. Her strength returned gradually, and with it a sense of wholeness she had not felt in weeks. Tears ran down her face as she looked at Ethan, words failing her. You saved me," she whispered finally. I never hoped." Her voice trailed off, choked with emotion. Ethan shook his head gently. "You saved them first," he replied. "I only made sure you had the chance to continue. No one should have to lose everything for love." The daughters ran to their mother, embracing her tightly. The moment was filled with quiet joy, the snow around them sparkling in the reflection of the restored heart crystal. Lyra looked up at Ethan, her eyes wide with admiration. "Thank you," she said simply. Ethan nodded, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. In the following days, Sirali regained her full strength. Her body moved with renewed energy, her mind sharp and focused. The shelter became a place of warmth and laughter once again, the girls thriving under her care. The community of survivors around them began to notice the change, inspired by Sirali's courage and determination. Word spread of the human who had returned the heart crystal, a story of honor, compassion, and humanity at its best. Ethan stayed for a time, helping the colony improve their defenses, teaching them how to make better use of the scarce resources, and sharing knowledge of the wider galaxy. The bond between him and Sirali grew, not as buyer and seller, but as friends united by respect and shared experience. The girls loved having him around, their laughter echoing through the frozen landscape as they played and learned under his watchful eye. One evening, as the sun dipped below the icy horizon, Sirali and Ethan stood together on a ridge overlooking the colony. The wind was still sharp, but it no longer felt as cruel. The auroras danced above, casting vibrant colors across the sky. Sirali's hand rested lightly on the heart crystal, now safely returned to its place, and she smiled at Ethan. "You've shown me something I didn't believe possible," she said quietly, "that even in a galaxy filled with danger, there are those who act with honor, who value life above wealth or power." Ethan nodded. "It's what makes humanity human," he replied. "We have the strength to endure, the courage to act, and the choice to do what is right. Not because it's easy, but because it matters." Sirali's daughters joined them, their small hands holding theirs together. The bond between mother, children, and human was unspoken yet powerful, a testament to the possibility of connection across species, cultures, and worlds. Even in the harshest conditions, even in the face of unimaginable choices, hope and courage could prevail. As the days turned into weeks, the colony began to thrive. Sirali taught her daughters everything she knew about survival, love, and sacrifice. Ethan prepared to leave, knowing that his mission was complete and that Sirali's family was safe. On the day of his departure, the entire colony gathered to see him off, their eyes filled with gratitude and respect. "You've changed our lives," Sirali said, her voice steady and full of warmth. "Not just mine, but everyone here. We will never forget what you have done." Ethan smiled, a rare and genuine expression. "Remember this," he said. "Strength is measured not by what you take, but by what you protect. And love. Love is always worth the sacrifice." With that, he boarded his freighter and lifted off into the sky, leaving behind a colony forever changed by courage, compassion, and the unbreakable bonds of family. Sirali watched him go, her heart full, her daughters at her side, knowing that together they could face whatever the galaxy threw at them. Even in a world as harsh as Krythos, even in a galaxy filled with danger and greed, hope could flourish. Humanity, in its courage, honor, and compassion, had left a mark not just on Sirali's family, but on the very heart of Krythos itself. And in that mark, the alien mother knew, lay a story that would be remembered for generations, a story of sacrifice, love, and the strength of a human heart. The wind still howled, but it carried a different sound now, a sound of life, of hope, and of survival. Sirali embraced her daughters, feeling the pulse of the restored heart crystal beneath her hands, and whispered into the icy air, "We live, we survive, and we will thrive." The stars above shone brighter than ever, as if the galaxy itself had witnessed the triumph of courage and compassion, and the bond between species that proved the greatest strength was not technology, not power, but the heart.